Good evening. Meteorologist Brian Wolf here. It is Tuesday, October 7th, and we're going to provide an evening forecast update for everybody. Just kind of give you a summary of kind of what went down today, any places where the forecast might have been off, and then looking forward to tonight, the rest of this week, and maybe glancing towards the middle of October for some more exciting type of weather, right? Real fall weather. So, anyways, if we hop off and we look at the radar right now, we put this into motion. Over here is where we had all the showers this morning that kind of come through. But right now we're dealing with actually a line of a couple of scattered showers through the area. One headed actually probably right towards Campbellsburg right now. One exiting up to the north, up around Columbus. These will be kind of diving off to the south and east throughout the rest of the evening tonight. And when you look further back, really that's kind of the last stand of this cold front, so to speak, in terms of precipitation. So again, the frontal boundary is just now coming through. And so with that, you see some forced lift in the atmosphere. When you have lift in the atmosphere, you can see showers and maybe a rumble of thunder or two. These are just mainly showers right now that are just kind of going through the area. Like I said, they'll be through the area here by, 8, 9 p.m. tonight, and then you won't have to worry about any more precipitation. Let's turn on our METAR data actually and look at the temperatures here. As you can see, temperatures in the mid 70s. And I want to take a quick minute to point this out. And I don't care to admit when I missed a forecast. And although I was dead on with the precipitation forecast, I forecasted a high temperature in the low 70s. And I know at least in Orange and Washington County, a couple hours ago, we peaked out at around 80 degrees. And the reason for that is that initial wave of rain rain really moved through the area. And if you remember back to last night's live here, we talked about how the temperatures were elevated off to the north and to the west, and that was due to just a lack of cloud cover. And you probably noticed this evening how, or later this afternoon, where the clouds kind of parted out of the way. And with that, you saw temperatures kind of rebound. You can see even down towards Evansville, Jasper right now, it's still 80 degrees. Now, if you look back up towards the north and northwest, there's temperatures in the low to mid 60s. And then a more zoomed out, you can see you can kind of see the line there where the front is at. All those orange temperatures in the mid to lower 70s where the cold front is located. To the south of that front, temperatures in the 80s. Behind, north and west of that front, temperatures cooler. Another way in which we can see that the front has gone through is you can see these little things called wind barbs, and they are actually coming out of the north and northwest now, which means that the cold front has moved past us. So we're just dealing again with a couple of those lingering showers. Not really any big deal. Now, let's take a look at the QPE. If you've kind of been watching my videos, you know that stands for the quantitative precipitation estimate. It's based on radar ZR relationship. And is what I want to do is I'm actually going to kind of zoom in here. So if you've been watching the models, the Euro, the GFS, and the high-res model, you have seen some very different outputs in terms of precipitation. The Euro and the GFS, for instance, were very dead set with the heaviest rain being along the river. And if you see that here, they've gotten somewhere in the 3 to 4, in some locations over 4 inches of rain here in extreme southern Harrison County, over just south of Louisville, over towards Frankfort. And then it kind of tails off and lessens as you head north and northwest. But I want you to, in our morning update this morning, we actually saw that the high-res model had that precip line of about an inch or more going right through the center part of DuBois County, Orange County, Washington County. And sure enough, look right there. If you're in Paoli, you got maybe about 3/4 of an inch of rain today. Maybe just a little less, depending upon what part of Paoli. North of Salem, so Campbellsburg probably was right in there at around half an inch of rain, and then north of Campbellsburg, like the Saltillo region, probably even less than that, and then up towards Bedford, a lot less there in Lawrence County. but it's kind of wild to see. And of course, this is me just nerding out. But you can clearly see where the high resolution model was dead on. And go back and watch the video from this morning. You'll be able to see that it called it out. And actually, impressively enough, I had called into question this. Some of the models were forecasting that you actually had upwards of 3 inches of rain in the Bloomington area. Well, although they didn't see that, and I was right about that, they did see an inch. And so you see that gap there across Lawrence County. But if you head up north into Monroe County, where Bloomington's at, there were spotty areas of between 3/4 of an inch and an inch of rain. So it's always kind of interesting, I think, to kind of revisit a forecast. Remember, science is not perfection. It's about continuing to grow and to learn. And so even when we go over and we look at even if we go over and we look at the satellite image, which I'm going to show you, you can see that break in clouds right here. So just to the south of that break of clouds over in eastern Kentucky right now, that's what went through this morning. And then you could see that break in clouds, which allowed those temperatures to rise up until about the upper 70s to around 80 degrees. We do have another area of clouds back behind it. Not too worried about precip with that. Mainly just, kind of moving through later this evening as some of that cooler, drier air tends to move on. Let's go ahead and switch gears really fast and show you what we're expecting in the overnight area in south central and southeastern Indiana. By midnight, those clouds still be hanging around, patchy, but we'll call it cloudy. 60 degrees, cooling off nicely, 55 degrees by 4 a.m. And then down to around 50 degrees, if not, maybe the upper 40s in some of these more rural agricultural areas around here by 8 a.m. And really all due to having that wind out of the north from 4 to 8 miles per hour. So if you get a little bit of wind there in the middle of the night and kind of gets a little chilly, it's kind of to be expected. That's what you see with these cold fronts that come through in the fall. Now, looking ahead towards our next 7 days, we've cleared out Tuesday. So starting tomorrow, we see plenty of sunshine available, temperatures in the mid to upper 60s before we rebound going into the weekend with temperatures approaching 70 and then even the mid 70s. So I want to come back out and I want to take one moment to kind of look ahead. Okay, this is great fall weather coming up. However, as a meteorologist and as a weather nerd, I like to look forward. I kind of previewed this last night a little bit with maybe the middle of October getting kind of interesting. So let's take a look at this. So if we actually go over and I briefly mentioned this yesterday, but this is the North Atlantic Oscillation. This is an ocean current, what's considered a teleconnection. So something that takes place in the North Atlantic that, believe it or not, has an impact on our area here. And there are a lot of those types of teleconnections. Some of the most famous ones you probably heard of are El Nino and La Nina. And we're going to talk about that more as I issue in the next week or so my fall forecast. And then in a couple of weeks, I'll issue my winter forecast. And we'll talk a lot more about teleconnections. I'm a believer more in teleconnections in terms of predicting, seasonal outlooks, especially winter with precipitation and temperature. But North Atlantic Oscillation, you can see here this solid line left to right indicates 0 as an index. And you can see right around probably the 14th, 15th of October, we go below 0 on this index for the NAO. We actually get about 1.5, negative 1.4 maybe. And so what does that equate to you? Well, it equates cooler temperatures, right? So I expect another major cold front to come through at about that time. That's going to bring in probably this season's coldest temperatures. Now, does this work always? Not really all the time when you're in the summer coming into the fall, but I do want to point out, if you can remember back, and I know everybody's had a lot going on, but if you remember back to the second part of August, how we had this false fall and everybody was like, I can't believe these temperatures. And it was crazy. If you look here on this NAO index, you can actually see where we went about negative 1.3, 1.4 after the middle part of August, around the 20th, 23rd of August. And so you can kind of start to see teleconnections do actually impact various parts of the earth. And it just so happens where we're located in the United States, the east central part of the US, the NAO is a great index for us. And if you really want to look at this, we can go back out national and just briefly, and then we'll summarize, and I'll hop off here and see if anybody has any questions. But if we actually, this is the European model, and if we look out, this is October 15th, you can see temperatures still in this upper 60s. But I want you to watch this growing mass of blue out to the northwest, so in southwestern Canada. And that's the cool air that we're looking to see if it gets brought our direction. And actually, you can see right here, this is October 19th, and you can see this line here that's indicating a pretty potent cold front. Temperatures surging into the 80s right ahead of it, temperatures in the 50s behind it. So really even bringing temperatures in the Dakotas up into the 40s, and these are high temperatures for the record. So something to kind of watch out, something that can be kind of fun. Remember, over the next couple of weeks, we'll be seeing more and more of that fall foliage in those colors. We need some cool evenings. Remember to close the veins on the leaves to trap the sugars in the leaves, get more of that vibrant color for the fall foliage. So that's kind of what we're looking at. I just want to go back and we'll summarize for everybody what to expect in terms of the overnight hours. Temperatures dropping down into around 50. I wouldn't be surprised if a few rural areas see 48 to 49 degrees tonight. And then starting tomorrow, plenty of sunshine, highs in the, we'll call it the upper 60s tomorrow. We are still watching the possibility Friday morning of temperatures in the upper 30s, but we'll kind of update you on that tomorrow morning. Otherwise, let's see if anybody has any questions or anything. No, but hello. So that's what we've got. I appreciate everybody tuning in, and come back and watch tomorrow morning's video so we can get an update on everything. I hope you all have a great